What can you do with no money? You can play in the garden with your children. You can walk along the beach. You can walk along your local streets. You can go to the park. There's a few things you can do, but it is limited. Hello, welcome back. This is Paul, Tribal Man Club. If you like what you hear or whatever, then you know what to do. Down the bottom. Money is a tool for greasing the wheels and for leverage and for experiences. Okay, I've got some notes here, so forgive me if you hear rattling of the paper. What I've got is my theory and what I would do again, and also what I'm on my own journey of, and that's about a financial journey. And so I'd like to share it with you, and then maybe you could give me your thoughts, your input, and any holes in my ideology, then let me know in the bottom below. All right, let's get back to it. What can you do with no money when you're flat broke and living on the streets? You can beg, you can dream, you can hope. You can let go of all responsibility. You don't have to be scheduled for meetings. You don't have to have your life scheduled for getting up in the morning. You don't have to worry about bills. So there is a small level of freedom there. All right. Having no money whatsoever has a small amount of freedom, but it has much more limitations. Okay. So moving on a little bit, having a companion or a partner helps with building up your finances. But is it fair if your partner brings no money into the pot? Often, where would you be if your partner was a gambler or an addict, and they were just spending any money they could get their hands on? You wouldn't be with them, would you? It doesn't make sense to be with somebody that cannot add money to the pot in some form or other. And I say that because in reality, most women wouldn't go out with a broke man or a man that works in McDonald's. All right? But men will go out with a broke woman. Men will go out with a woman that works in McDonald's. Because men don't really care what women bring into the table about their career. All they care about is they're making an effort to help grow instead of taking out more than that's going in. That's why men that are earning a set amount of money know they can't afford a high maintenance woman that spends much more than he earns. All right, so taking out of the box here what woman you choose, just for a moment. Money is essential for entry level of life support. Even part-time is helpful and will help sustain maybe a partnership. A man and a woman together going out or whatever, a young lad and a young lady, things like that. But then if one is working full-time and the other person helps to supplement with a part-time job, that then is the basics and the beginning for starting a family, because one can do child support and the other one can bring in some money to pay the bills. I don't want to get too much into the politics of who brings in what and how much and whether you can afford this, whether you can afford that, and what women are like and what men are like. I want to stay clear of the politics and any negative reactions to that. My point here is to emphasize the importance of earning money with a level of work-life balance, which is what we all want to do, really, I think. Okay, so this is kind of my philosophy, my ideology, as I said at the beginning. Right. So generally speaking, um, money can make life a little bit easier. It's really good for leverage, greasing the wheels, the ability to seize opportunities. Money also gives you time. The more money you have with lower outgoings, that facilitates you to have time, like a good work-life balance. Often a lot of people look towards FIRE, that financially independent, retire early kind of movement. And that has merit and that has its place if that's what you want to do. That's very focused and very dedicated, taking it very seriously. Work-life balance or FU money, so you can say to your employer, get lost, I've got enough money now, I'm going to go live in the woods. Okay. It's a worthy pursuit, providing it doesn't inflate one's ego. So that's the problem here is often men's ego. When you start getting money, you kind of get a little bit greedy and you think, daughter wants to go to ballet and the son wants to go to a private school and my wife's thinking about getting a Mercedes. And it's very easy to get into the trap of keeping up with the Joneses. More money, more money, more money. And sometimes we put that pressure on ourselves. It might not be echoed from the family, but we put that pressure on ourselves that we feel that we want to give them the best. And then often it comes at a cost of burnout. And then that can have a knock-on effect. And it can put you back, many years. Okay. So this is what I've tried to implement in my life in the past. And for my own circumstances, the other person in my life not often being committed to the same kind of vision. And yes, that's my fault. I should have... excuse me. I should have figured that out in the beginning, But people don't always tell you the truth. You think you're on the same page. You think you're on the same vision going forward and same bit of ambition to retire with some money in the bank. But people change. And so here we are. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and you go again. All right, okay. So one way to build yourself back up again financially. Now, whether you're with in a family or whether you're on your own or whether you're in, maybe with your in-laws or siblings, starting again. Here are some of the ways that I put down into steps of what I would do with a family, or if I was on my own. Well, I am on my own, or if I was with a family, and how I would slowly build again. These are some of the focuses I would have. And I know it seems a little bit condescending, but it's really worth reiterating because of its importance. Okay, so I don't want to say step one, but the first thing I would think about is how I frame this in a mindset, because that's the most important part, is the mindset of you're doing this for a reason, and like any sort of diet or any exercise program, you need to have a little bit of respite in between. So, for example, if you're working 5 days a week or 5.5 days a week, that you make sure you have that little bit of breather so you don't burn out. All right, maybe that little treat, maybe that little something for you or your family to help you stay on track and remind you of where you're going and why you're going in that direction. But also, like I said, with a little break and a little bit of a treat that makes it all worthwhile. So framing it is the most important part with your goals. And I'll get back onto that in a moment. Okay. So part of this is breaking it down into different sections and lots of different things you can do. All right. So cut out all non-essentials. And I mean, like, pretend you're at war or something like that, like I mean, it's horrible to say like you're Russia or Ukraine, but that's the current market we're in now. And if you were in that situation, if you lived in Ukraine now, you wouldn't be spending and wasting money left, right, and center. So have the kind of mindset that you're at war, but maybe with your finances, or with the bank, that's got your mortgage, or with the government, or whoever you want it to be. You're having to take this seriously. So again, it's about mindset. Right? You could also even just turn it into a game. Every time there's a pound in your pocket, it's not a pound in, the government's pocket or whatever. But get your mindset right on this. Get your mind shift on it. It's serious. You're on this for a purpose and you're doing it for real. Okay. So start getting creative in ways you can cut costs and you can trim, the bits of fat that you're wasting here, there, and everywhere without even realizing it. All right. Every household is different, so what works for you might not work for your neighbor, and vice versa. So I do some things that people would go, "Oh my God, I couldn't do that. That's just too much. It's too much." But I don't want to say I'm an extreme kind of person, but I am quite a focused, dedicated individual. And a lot of us have that mentality and that grit. Being British or being American, we've got that grit of being able to suffer a little bit because the reward is far, far greater. So like, I don't know, climbing Ben Nevis, which I did back in July or August, whenever it was. It was hard work and multiple times I didn't think I was going to make it. And I kept stopping for a rest. And I thought, oh my God, why am I doing this? I'm not prepared for this. I'm just an old man decided to go for it. But as you know, if you go on the website, you'll see my photos. What have I done now? 4 mountains in 1 year. Snowdonia, Ben Nevis, Scaffold Pike, and Pen y Fan in Wales. So 4 mountains, and Ben Nevis is the biggest mountain we have in the UK. So I've done 4 mountains with no training. So having grit, having dedication, maybe I'm just a bit odd, a bit weird in that respect. All right, okay. Postponing treats. So instead of having a treat every day, have one once a week, and have one nice treat instead of lots of little crappy treats. I'll get onto that in a minute. But this has a compounding impact over time. Like it snowballs basically. So if, for example, you cut out Greggs every day and you only have it once on a Monday morning or a Friday afternoon, then over the months that's really going to make a difference. And that's just one thing you started with. I said about being serious, not a half-assed attempt. There's huge differences between what you deserve and what you need for survival. Many of us are like not happy with our jobs and think, oh God, this is awful. I deserve better. I deserve more. I deserve to treat myself again today. I deserve to treat myself. I deserve to treat myself. And so many people are having multiple takeaways in a week. My sister and her ex-husband a couple of years back, they used to have like 3-4 takeaways a week. I was like, oh my goodness, that's costing you like 20 to 30 quid each time. Wow. All right, some might say they had the money for it, but they weren't saving for anything, and now it's all gone. All right, okay. Starbucks and Greggs, I mentioned that. They're not essential for survival. The trick here is planning and preparation. When it comes to like a lunchbox, it's what we used to do. It's what we used to do in the 90s. You get a lunchbox and you fill it up with, a couple of sandwiches, which are cheaper to make than they are to buy. A couple of sandwiches, packet of crisps, maybe some fruit. Depending on how long your day is, depends on how big your lunchbox is, or as I used to say to my friend, his hamper. He was a big lad. He ate a lot of food. So that's still cheaper than buying it out. I know it's nice to have, I don't know, maybe a bacon sandwich if that's what you're into. But it does add up. Get a flask of cup of tea or coffee or whatever. Bottles of squash. The only squash I like to drink is Ribena. blackcurrant juice, because it's kind of nice quality and it doesn't have that chemical taste. But that's what works for me. Might not work for you. Find what works for you. So like I said, planning. Also plan your entertainment. Back in the day, we used to go to Blockbuster and get out three videos for the whole weekend. But plan your entertainment. You should be planning everything, including a contingency, an emergency fund for that surprise bill or when the car breaks down or something like that. So plan everything, and you're much less likely to go over your budget. And even if you just try it for 3 months, you might find and realize that you like or you want to keep some of these strategies, some of these systems that you put in place. You might think, well, actually, we might just use this money and this system for saving up for a nice holiday. We haven't had a nice holiday for 5 years. Let's just save up now with some of these systems, some of these ideas, and then we'll be able to go on that cruise we've always wanted to the north, the fjords, or whatever you choose. All right, so that's kind of step one. The planning and cutting out all the stuff that you can cut out as possible. Planning, cutting out, mindset, the seriousness of it. All right, so that's the household side of things. Then the next part, or step two, whatever you like to call it, would be maximizing your income. Look at where you can do better in your career, maybe now or in the next 5 years. What sort of courses that you could do, night courses or classes, what sort of mentoring you can do, or get mentoring for you. Maybe you can make money by mentoring somebody younger, maybe somebody, newer in their career. All right. Personally, I'd not recommend doing overtime or selling your holidays, because some companies allow you to do that because of burnout. All right. Burnout is a serious thing. If you do 6 days a week, you're really just hating the job by month 3. Burnout is real serious, and we need to stay creative and energized and passionate for saving this money and cutting stuff out. So look at ways you can increase your earning potential. Like I said, whether it's doing a couple of night courses, whether it's learning to do presentations. There's lots of really good YouTube videos out there that help you do a presentation, how to do it really, really well. A friend of mine had to start learning to do presentations because his company was offering out a service to other companies. And so he did that for a few years, and now he's a manager, and he's making really good money. He's had to do a couple of sideways moves as well, but he's elevated himself up now, and he's on very good money. I might come back to that in a moment. So yeah, so once you've exhausted all those avenues, it's probably a good idea to talk to your senior manager and say, look, I want to get to this level. What do I need to achieve to be able to get to this next step? What's your recommendations? You're further up in the industry. And he might say, well, actually, this course, and this course are a waste of time. You don't need it. What you need is networks. So come along with me to this conference and that conference and this, WWDC or this presentation. And you get to meet other people, other connections. And men are very good at connecting and building relationships. And that just helps to build society, really. But that will help prepare you to take your career to the next step. Those connections, those qualifications, those other skill sets. You might just have to learn how to touch type so you can get those reports out much quicker. You might have to learn Excel. You might have to learn coding. You might have to learn, setting up a website or using Fiverr or using Teams. But there's so much help out there on YouTube, through networking, through friends, LinkedIn, all these different platforms. There is a lot of ways that you can maximize your earning potential. And if you're at the ceiling where there is nowhere else for you to go in that company, Maybe you need to think about moving to another company. But I would stress before you do that, make sure you're up to your eyeballs in qualifications and that you have a safety net of 3 to 6 months of salary, of wages put aside. So that's like what we said earlier about the domestic household income. Once you've saved like 3 to 6 months worth of money, because you don't know, you might be in a car accident and get a broken leg and not be able to get to work. So every person that's got any sense and brains in their head should be looking at making an emergency fund just in case they break their leg. Heaven forbid. That would be the smart thing to do. So an emergency fund, and then a safety net. The emergency fund would probably be like £1,000 in case the car breaks down or the boiler breaks down. So £1,000 just to get you out of a sticky situation, like in the next day or so. And then an emergency fund, say whatever it is that you need, the amount you need to cover you for say 3 to 5 months, 3 to 6 months. That is the smart thing I would do before moving careers. All right, before changing careers or before changing jobs or industries. All right, so that's like, we've talked about the household income. We talked about your career and your financial income. Then the next part, the third part would be like my battery's gone. Your side hustle. So the side hustle would literally just be turning your hobby into a way of making a small income, or at the very least, turning it into a seeding the basics of potential income in the future. So, for example, if you made a podcast or you made YouTube videos, you're not expecting the money back that week, that month, maybe not even that year. It might even be that it takes 2 or 3 years for some of that money to come in. But if that's part of your hobby, then that's brilliant. All right, what else we got covered about hobbies? So yeah, even if it's like walking a dog, maybe you walk your dog every single day, but 2 doors down, 3 doors down, your neighbour is struggling because they're a little bit older to walk their dog. You could say, I tell you what, for a few dollars, a few pounds, I'll walk your dog every day. I'm doing mine anyway. That's another way to make a little bit of income. It doesn't matter if it's not walking the dog. It could be that maybe your wife's home looking after the children, and she's home, straight after school, and she's there in the morning, in the afternoon. There's a potential there that you could do a little bit of child minding. Ideal if you've got a downstairs toilet, but that's another way you could do that with people in your street. Just another way. There's lots and lots of different ways that you can think of making a little bit of income on the side. Contribution. Yeah, so be creative. Maybe you're into photography. Maybe you're into painting. There's always a way that, for example, if you love painting, maybe like come Christmas, you can start painting Christmas cards and then selling them for 50p. Or whatever it costs to make yourself even. So every hobby has a potential to eventually make money, even if it's just a little bit that funds your hobby a bit more and then puts a bit more money back into the kitty. All right, little bits, they snowball. They have a compounding effect. All right, so that's like the side hustles. So we got the household, we got the career, and we got the side hustles. All right, part 4. What do we call part 4? Part 4 is more about saving and diversifying in portfolios. All right, step 4. Sit down as a couple or as a family and work out your savings goals. I mean, if you're saving, you want to know why you're saving for, whether it's just for that little holiday or whether it's financially independent, retire early, or whether you want to pay off that mortgage. You need to have an idea of what for. And for me, it's to buy some land. Okay, so also I'd recommend, if you can, to sit down with either somebody that's higher up the food chain than you. Maybe you've got an uncle or a relative or a neighbor that's financially savvy. Maybe they've they're a bit older and they're doing really, really well, and that they're have more money than you. Maybe you could ask them about financial freedom, or about their goals, and about some good ways to cut back and things like that. Otherwise, an independent financial advisor is a good piece of advice, because obviously you got to think about the tax implications, your pensions, and looking at the long term. I know we could all just get knocked over by a bus tomorrow, in which case, life is short sometimes, but you've got to plan for the long term. Because if you don't get knocked over by a bus, what are you going to do when you're 67, 70 years old and there's not much of a pension for you to collect? It's a bit of a funny one, that, isn't it? You want to live for today, yet you also want to save for the rest of the time. Okay, where are we? So this is where I have to say the disclaimer. I'm not a paid professional. This is not professional advice. Yada 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 yada. All right. Card payments, loans, credit cards, contracts, all these things you need to think about getting out of your life. My sister, for example, has or used to have car payments. And they were super expensive. And I don't think that people really take on board that the car payments pay for the car that you want, but also it's the interest rate that you're paying as well. So if you're able to save, let's just say you've saved your emergency fund and you've got your safety net and you've got all that, it might be worthwhile looking at how you can get out of your car payment plans by buying a car that's a reasonably priced for reliability, and give back the other one on finance. Because of the interest rates, it's costing you an arm and a leg, and you're going to be in those perpetual payments going on forever and ever and ever and ever. Because when that car gets tired, you get another car, and then you get another car. And it's the same with mobile phones. Mobile phones, we end up getting the latest model every 2 years, but then you're stuck in this mobile phone contract again for perpetual. So if you were to go to like CEX or any second-hand shop, you buy the latest flagship phone that you like, it's bought and paid for, it's done. Keep it for, and this is the other bit, you keep it for longer than what you would in a contract. So instead of just keeping it for the 2 years, you keep it for 4 years. And yes, I know, by 4 years you're thinking, oh my God, this phone is so bloated and old and slow and rubbish, and everybody's got a better phone. But you've got to think about the mindset that you're looking to retire early. You don't want to be stuck in the same boat that everybody else is stuck in. Paying out for their car, paying out for their phone, paying out for this, paying out for that, paying out for something else. Keep paying out for everything. And it's not just the payments that you're able to cope with, but it's the interest rate on top. That over, say, 5, 10, 20, 30 years adds up to a lot of money that's not helping you. It's going into somebody else's pocket. Now, I don't want to be putting money into somebody else's pocket, but that's a whole nother story. All right, so all these payments, you want to look at a plan or a way to slowly get off that teat of somebody else's milk, all right? You got to try and plan to get off of these things. So you are bringing the money that goes into your house, into your savings, and to your future plans, and not to somebody else. All right, what else have we got? So another thing you could look at is your accommodation. My sister used to have a big 4-bedroom house, and there was only 2 of them. And when I asked her, she said, oh yeah, this is our pension. This is our future. Well, she wasn't renting out any of the rooms. It was just the 2 of them in a 4-bedroom house. And then you get freeloaders like myself that would come over and stay maybe for 6 months or a year and pay very low rent. And then you'd have only family members and maybe a friend that's, not doing so well. And all these people will take up room and, end up costing more on electric, a little bit more on electric and a little bit more on the rent and a little bit more on the gas and maybe a little bit more on the water. And so these people that keep coming to stay with you, as much as you like them and they're your family, it's costing you more and more money. When you've got this 4-bedroom house, you could be renting out the rooms. Anyway, so think about your accommodation. Think about your car. Think about your phone. Think about your credit cards. Think about your house, your accommodation. Could you downsize to something smaller? Now, if you were really, really, really strict and strong-willed, you could move into a camper van. But you'd have to be crazy to do that, wouldn't you? You'd have to be crazy. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. So there are a few more steps if you want to build wealth. And there's a few other things you can think about and consider. Somebody said to me the other day about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going up and up and up and up. And, our fiat currency, our pounds or the dollars are just being diluted. In the UK, they call it quantitative easing. Basically, they're just printing more flipping money. So whatever money we've got is worth less and less and less and less and less, which is disgusting. Well, it's basically just theft, isn't it? It's theft. We've paid tax on our savings. We've paid tax on our wages. We've paid tax on our vehicle. Don't get me started. We pay tax on everything. And now the little bit of money we do have, they're diluting down with quantitative easing, printing more money. So it's sickening. So I understand why people are looking at Bitcoin, because potentially you might not be able to spend it very easily, very readily, because it takes time to transfer. But things like Bitcoin, you say, it's going up and going up. But trust me when I say this, and I mean this with all honesty and respect and love to you all, don't buy Bitcoin. It is one big Ponzi scheme. It's going up and up and up and up and up. And why is it a Ponzi scheme? Why is it just a big rip-off? Because there's no tangible thing that you get out of it. Well, once it's burst its bubble at the top and it crashes down, what have you got? Nothing. You've got nothing. It's the same with NFTs, non-fungible tokens. You've got actually nothing. It's just hyped up. I mean, you can say that about our pounds and dollars, our currency. It's only what everybody believes in. And at the moment, there is nothing else that you can substitute for a £10 note or a $10 note. You can't substitute it for anything else that's readily liquid as that. But if you do want to have something to hold on to and invest in, I would recommend gold. Now, here in the UK, you can get little gold sovereigns and half sovereigns. Now, you can obviously get bullions and everything else as well, but the reason I mention it is because they're quite small. And you can buy like a little locket, almost like a locket, like a pocket watch size locket to hold coins in. Now, these coins, the half sovereign, which is very small, of gold now, is worth around £250. And obviously around £450 for the full sovereign. And in the US, you have something very, very similar. You've got the gold eagle and the bullions and things like this. And I don't know all the terms for the coins in America. The reason why I say these gold coins is that in the UK, and I think there's something similar to the US, in the UK, these gold coins are considered currency. Even though it's £240, £250 for one coin, for the half sovereign, it has, what do they say? I'm going to try and say this correctly. Taxed, capital gains tax exempt. So if you buy, 10 coins, and then 1 year later it rockets up, and then you sell those 10 coins, you don't have to pay tax on it. All right? So these two coins are considered currency, the half sovereign and the full sovereign. I think a full sovereign is twice the price of a half sovereign, I guess, near enough. The smaller the coin, the more premium you have to pay on it. It's a bit like buying in bulk. The bigger the thing. But a half sovereign, £250, and a full sovereign, I think it's like £480, something like that. But they are capital gains tax exempt. Some people say you shouldn't really worry about it if you're going to keep it for longer than 2 years. That doesn't really matter if you keep it for more than 2 years. And I would keep it for 2 years. But being able to have a small amount of gold and keep it with me, or hide it and have a little safe, is very small space to conceal, you know. I mean, you can buy gold online and have it looked after and get given a voucher. But again, if that company goes bankrupt, if that Bitcoin drops down, if the Bitcoin wallet you have, then maybe you have a physical, is it a Tezor? No, Tezor, like a physical key for your crypto. If you lose that, you're stuffed. It's all gone. If the company that's looking after your Bitcoin, that wallet company, if that goes bankrupt or dissolves, it's gone. You've got nothing. Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. It's a bit like what was it back in the 90s? So that famous Ponzi scheme in the 90s. With the toothpaste and the shampoo. Oh, you only need a little bit, it lasts forever. Get your friends to buy it. Get your friends to come on board. Amway, that's it. Amway. Oh my God, do you remember Amway back in the 90s? That's now doing really well in Cambodia. When I was living in Cambodia, there were people trying to sell me Amway products. I was like, oh my God, we've just gone back 30 years. So Amway is a massive Ponzi scheme. But it's easy to get caught up in the hype, especially if you're a vulnerable person or a desperate person. Bitcoin is the same. It's for vulnerable and desperate people. Yes, you might be able to buy in and then hold on to it for a few years and then sell it out to some other poor sucker. Because that's what it is. You're buying it low and you're hoping it'll go up and go up and go up, and then you can sell it to somebody else before it bubble bursts. But you're not actually having anything. Whereas with gold and silver, but gold's a bit better, gold is a precious element that we use in society. We need gold. We use it in electronics and lots of other things, in computers and lots of other things. Gold is a tangible, real thing that has real use case scenario. All right? Yes, you might buy gold now and wait 5 years, 10 years, and then sell it. But that gold is still there. It still exists. It's still going to be used. All right? And it's still going to have value. Its value is what it is at the time. All right. And like house prices can go up and go down. But it's something tangible, something real. Bitcoin is not. Amway is not. It's all hype. It's all hype for nothing. So please don't get into crypto and Bitcoins and NFTs and all that malarkey. So gold is what I would recommend. Gold is going up and up and up and hopefully steadily, because we want to go up steadily. But you remember, if gold is going up steadily and slowly and sort of responsibly, and then our fiat currency is going down and down and down, you're going to make money just by holding on to the gold. Just holding on to it, because our fiat currency is being diluted every year, again and again and again. I mean, where it goes, I don't know. At some point, there's going to be a massive crash, but I don't know. Our country's been keeping it propped up for blimmin' decades. I mean, you look, in reality, after the COVID-19, we should have had a crash. We were at that cyclical time of where we should have had a crash. So not only we were cyclically at the right time, but then we had COVID on top of that, and then we had Brexit on top of that. We are definitely well overdue for a crisis and a crash. But there we go. It keeps getting propped up. So yeah, I would just suggest slowly investing in gold. Little by little. Slow, baby steps. All right. Okay, so a lot of this is predicated on what I've read and seen and what I've done over my own years. But a lot of it is brought together with Dave Ramsey's book and Dave Ramsey's podcast and TV show. Also, I know Dave Ramsey's a little bit Christian, and some of his views on adultery. And I think I read in his book that he had a member of staff that committed adultery or wasn't unfaithful or whatever. And then basically he didn't trust him, and so he kicked him out of the company. I thought, wow, that's quite harsh. I'm not Christian, obviously, but I'm not sponsored by Dave Ramsey or anything like that. It's just sensible ideas. And whenever you can start implementing that, the sooner the better. You can start building up your life and your finances to the point where then once you've got a good amount of excuse me, when you've got a good amount of money, that you've got your safety net, you've got everything covered, and maybe you've I don't know, grown up a little bit in regards to your house or your car or whatever, and you're comfortable, and you've got this really clever and smart mindset that anything you buy is like a small percentage of your income, and then you start thinking about buying assets. Maybe you buy, I don't know, not my cup of tea, but maybe you'd buy another house and rent that house out. Maybe you buy some business. There's lots of businesses for sale if you're able to turn those around, or property. What was I going to say? Business property. Or me, I'd rather just buy land, physical land. Different taxes and stuff like that in that case. But once you get to that point, then actually you're above what I know, and you'd have to do your own research. I don't know it much about that. I'm learning myself about that, and I'm not even there yet. So this is me starting again at the bottom, but making some smarter decisions and having a 5-10 year plan, and just offering and sharing with you guys if you're open to thinking of a way to maximize your income and up your gain in value as a person. So yeah, that's my thoughts, that's my ideas. If you've got something that you want to share, or some holes in my logic, or you just want to reach out, then make a comment below, hit that like button. If you want, you can even buy me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com. Check out my Instagram. You see I'm genuinely a real person, and I've actually climbed those mountains. So check me out, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great Christmas. Take care. Bye bye for now.